And please don't forget to like and or make a comment or share these videos with other people. It would really help to get the word out. All right, we're about to do chapter 27, book number 1, A Healing in Jesus' Name. Bree kept the anger alive all the way through the next day until she arrived at the cabin Thursday evening. Happy to see her children, Shelley ran out to greet Bree and the boys. The men remained on the porch, watching the charming family scene with pleasure. Only it didn't remain charming for long. Bree briefly hugged her mom and with fierce eyes strode straight up to Ricky where he stood on the porch. She stared at him for just a moment and then drew back and slapped him across the face. Everyone turned at the sound of flesh hitting flesh. Ricky didn't flinch. "Come on, Bree," he urged quietly. "You can do better than that." She pulled back and slapped him again with all her strength. Shelley looked on with horror. Mark and Joey giggled. Eric's quietly fierce voice broke the silence. "What is going on?" Bree turned and scowled at Eric. "Why don't you ask him?" she yelled right back, nodding toward Ricky. Eric's eyebrows rose for just an instant, but he certainly was not intimidated by this slip of a girl. Eric held his hand up. "No, never mind. I don't need to know. However, you and Ricky take your fight somewhere else, not in front of the kids and not in front of your mom." Bree stood glaring at Eric defiantly. Eric's calm and firm gaze met hers. Bree opened her mouth to speak and then closed it again. She turned and stormed away. Eric directed a questioning gaze at his humiliated son. Ricky looked down. I pissed her off." "Well, that much is obvious," Eric said, his tone not very sympathetic. Shelley, noticeably upset, ushered the boys in to get settled. Eric shook his head before turning to confront his son. "I don't know what's happened between the two of you, but whatever it is, work it out." Eric's voice was angry and harsh. "This goes against everything we've been working for, and you'd better hope that that little scene hasn't caused a setback for Shelley. You get your act together or get out of camp." Eric turned to join Shelley inside and then looked back. "Now!" "Yes, sir," Ricky said sullenly. He went to find Bree. Shelley stayed in Mark and Joey's room, catching up on their week at school, trying to ignore the drama happening on the porch. Eric opened the door to the boys' room. "Hi," he said cheerfully. "Hey, you guys get dressed and you can help me work out your mom." They worked for a while until dinner. The group politely chatted as they ate, trying not to mention Bree's and Ricky's absence. Eric watched Shelley. She'd barely eaten anything and kept staring out the window. Finally, she excused herself and went to her room. "It's all because Bree is mad at Ricky," Joey said simply. "Yeah," Mark agreed. "She's mad 'cause she doesn't want Ricky to like her so much. It's pretty dumb." "All girls are dumb," Joey giggled. Eric smiled at them. Children see things so simply. He thought of Ricky's smiling face when he was a little boy. Grimacing, he thought of how hard he'd been on him earlier. Eric's attention went back to Mark. His attention went back to Mark and Joey. "Well, guys, just because we don't understand how girls think doesn't make them dumb." "Well, Dad says all women are idiots," Joey argued. Eric frowned. He was in a corner. He certainly couldn't tell little Joey what he thought of his father's attitude toward women. So he played it safe. He smiled at Joey. "I'm sure your father was only joking. You don't think of your mother as an idiot, do you?" Joey's brows drew together. "No, sir." Eric smiled. "It's best to never generalize." "What's generalize?" Eric patiently took time to explain the term to Joey. Meanwhile, Eric found Bree sitting under the same tree where they'd played and cuddled a week earlier. "Mind if I join you?" he asked meekly. She didn't answer. Sitting next to her, he picked up some pine straw and flicked it around. "So, I don't blame you for being mad," he began. "I deserve anything you want to dish out." He paused, but there was no reaction from Bree. "Okay, I get it. So I screwed up. I know that. It's just that when I saw you with that guy, something came over me." She fired a look in his direction. "Yeah, it's called jealousy." "Okay, I was jealous," he admitted. "The thought of him kissing you and touching you when I knew he didn't care about you, it made me crazy. It made me mad at him and at you, but I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry, Bree. She glared at him. Just because we've made out a few times doesn't mean you own me. He buried his face in his hands. I know that. I know. It's just that I've never felt this way about anyone before. He was kissing the same girl, the same lips I was kissing a few days earlier, and yeah, I let my feelings get in the way. Can't you understand, Bree? Look, I give you my word right now that I won't let it happen again. She sat quietly contemplating his words. Bree, you're killing me. Yell at me, hit me, do anything. But do something, 'cause I can't take the silence. She sighed. Okay, Ricky, you've always been honest with me, so I'm going to level with you. Just don't go getting any big ideas. Ricky sat up, listening closely. When you left last night, I admit, I missed you, because I told Jared to leave, but he refused. He said I was being a tease. Alert now, Ricky asked. A tease? Bree, did he hurt you? Oh, no, he finally left, but I'm not going to lie. I was scared there for a minute. She sighed. In a way, I understand where he was coming from. I mean, what did I expect? I invite a guy over to the house where we're all alone. I let him kiss me. I guess he thought, well, I don't know. He thought he was going to get lucky, Ricky finished for her, and that's just the way most guys think these days, unless they have morals and integrity. That doesn't make it right to hurt you or take advantage of you, but girls do contribute to the problem. Bree sighed and nodded. I get it. I'm learning. Well, just so you know, Bree, there are a lot of good guys out there too, and we're not all just trying to score. I believe you, and I know you're one of the good guys. He smiled, but wisely stayed silent. Bree went on. Ricky, I do feel close to you, but I'm only 18. I don't have much experience, and I want to date and do new things before I settle down to just one guy. Maybe I am in love with you. I don't know. I mean, I miss you when you're not around, and I can't think of anyone I'd rather be with, but I'm young, and I'm just not sure. So until I am, I want to date around and have some fun, some excitement. Ricky interrupted. Well, I'm not opposed to having fun. I'm a wild man in most people's book. What kind of excitement are you looking for? I don't know. Be crazy. Do something on the edge. Ricky grimaced. On the edge sounds dangerous. Bree shrugged. Don't go getting all fatherly and protective. I'm just telling you how I feel. Okay, but could I show you some of those wild times, or does it absolutely have to be someone else? Bree smiled wickedly. Of course you can. Just be sure to call for an appointment. Great, Ricky answered sarcastically. Bree breathed a sigh. I'm sorry I hit you and did it right there in front of everyone. I know I upset Mom, and I think your dad is really mad at me. Ricky shrugged. Not nearly as mad as he is at me, but don't worry, he'll get over it. He's just worried about your mom because her emotional state is precarious, at best, after all she's been through. She nodded in understanding. I guess I need to talk to her and let her know that everything's okay, Bree said. She stared down at her hands a moment. And there's something else I need to say to you that so that you don't think I'm always so irresponsible. Ricky waited. I know I shouldn't have let the boys go off so late to the movies on a school night. I was thinking only of having some fun for myself, and that was wrong. Does Eric and Mom know? No, Ricky sighed. Well, at least I know I didn't say anything. I can't guarantee what the boys have said. And Bree, it takes courage to admit a mistake, and I agree with you. It was wrong. He'd had his say, and there was no use in making any more of the situation. He'd learned from his father to not grind everything into the ground. He put his arm around her, and they sat silently, reflecting on each other's words. She leaned her head against his chest and ran her hand over the expanse, then lower to his waist. What's this? She asked, fingering an intricately carved golden handle. Oh, that? That is a very special knife. Special how? Well, it's made by White Knight brand, and the handle is gold-plated, and My father gave it to me when I received my first black belt. Your first? How many black belts are you? He laughed at the way the question was worded. I'm a 5th degree black belt in Taekwondo, only a 2nd degree in karate. I've progressed in many styles, kung fu, hapkido. I'm considered a master in weaponry through my study of ninjutsu. He shrugged. Weaponry seems to come naturally to me, which is why my father encouraged me to pursue that avenue with the gift of the knife when I was a kid. He has the same talent, especially with the knife. Well, I've never seen either of you do anything with a knife. Well, it's not really something we play with, but we do work with weapons on a regular basis when we're at home. She fingered the hilt. It's really beautiful. She remembered he used it the other day to cut the bottom off the soda bottle to make a breathing tube for her mom. She had been amazed at how it slipped through the plastic like butter. He drew the knife for her and turned it over in his hand for her to see. It's dangerous. It's very sharp. It's real. And it means a lot to me. He raised up and unstrapped the leather sheath from his belt, inserted the knife back into the sheath, turned to her suddenly, took her hand, and placed the sheathed knife firmly on her palm. I want you to have it. Her eyes opened wide with surprise. Her first inclination was to refuse immediately, but that was too automatic. It would be making light of the tremendous gift he wanted to give. She gazed into his eyes, letting him know that she understood the preciousness of the gift. I'll treasure it always. He helped her to her feet. We better get back and see what we can do to make things right. Hand in hand, they walked slowly back toward the light of the little cabin in the meadow. New scene. Shelley awoke early Friday morning to the feel of Eric's lips brushing over her cheek. He stopped to watch her. She lay on her back, perfectly still and content, her eyes closed, breathing softly. Lovely. He kissed her lips, rose, and turned to look out at the day, peering over the headboard out the window to the side yard. Flowers bloomed, squirrels chattered, and rabbits hopped along merrily. Surprisingly, Shelley's doe and fawn were standing at the edge of the clearing. Whimsically, he thought it resembled a scene from Bambi. It looks like your friends are back, Eric whispered quietly. Friends, she murmured softly. Your dear friends. Shelley sprang up quickly and peeked out, holding on to the headboard. She caught her breath at the sight. Oh, my goodness, they're so beautiful, she whispered on a sigh. It was Shelley who was beautiful, Eric thought. He couldn't resist and turned her head to kiss her softly. And when he pulled away, she immediately looked back out the window. Oh, no, they've gone, she cried. Who, the deer? Yes, the deer, of course. He bowed his head. I must be losing my touch. I thought my kiss would make you forget everything else, he teased. He kissed her cheek and turned to leave. So, time to get up. We have a busy day. When do we not have a busy day? She scowled. Get dressed. Yes, sir, she returned along with a salute. He left her, then reopened the door. You know I love you. Yes, she answered sweetly. Good, he said matter-of-factly, and closed the door. That afternoon, Ricky, Bree, and the boys went to the hospital where Shelley had been treated to give the promised demonstration. Mark and Joey had been ecstatic about helping Ricky perform. And that evening, Shelley was ready for a hard workout after dinner. As everyone watched from the porch, she sparred one after another. It appeared she'd completely regained her timing and power, and Eric was extremely pleased with her performance. Ricky was excited. She's getting to be much more competitive for us. One of these days, she just might put me down. Eric smiled. Well, Rick, speaking as your teacher, you need to make sure that doesn't happen. Yes, master, Ricky said as he bowed. New scene. The last full day at the cabin, Eric decided it was time for Shelley's body to rest and had her take a nap. He wanted to make sure she wasn't fatigued in any way. Besides, it was the only way to plan the party. Surprise! They all cried when she emerged from the cabin after her nap to find the yard covered in people and food. She found Eric immediately. Oh, you're amazing. Oh, Eric, this is just too much, she laughed. Well, this was just for everyone else. You go inside and work on your forms, he teased. When monkeys fly, she retorted. He grinned. Isn't that the Wizard of Oz? Shelley laughed. Ooh, you're getting good at that. Brian and Meg came to greet her and hug her. Meg let Shelley hold little Aaron. Eric's heart overflowed as he watched her cuddle and coo at the baby. Many people from the nearby town of Tyler Springs, where Eric had replenished supplies, had been invited. They'd been happy to come and rub shoulders with people they considered celebrities. They all introduced themselves and shook their hands and wished Eric and Shelley luck at the tournament. There were police officers and EMTs and a few doctors and nurses from the hospital, the mayor of Tyler Springs, and several local businessmen and their wives. I'm sure you don't remember us, two young men approached, offering their hands to Shelley, but we were on the rescue chopper when you fell off the bridge. I'm so happy to meet you, Shelley said, and thank you. Oh, no need for thanks, they assured her. Shelley's response was interrupted by a sweet southern voice. My goodness, girl, every time I see you, you look hotter and hotter. Angel, Shelley cried as she hugged her. Where have you been? Every time I ask Jason about you, he says you're very busy. Oh, I've been extremely busy, thanks to you. Thanks to me? What are you talking about? Well, when you told me about the ladies in the jail in New Orleans, it really got to me. I know what it's like to be alone in the world and to have no one in my corner. I became obsessed with helping them. I moved out of my apartment and relocated to New Orleans, where Jason's been helping me set up a self-defense training school and home for women. The ladies would love you to come and visit them after the mart. Oh, Angel, Shelley uttered softly. That is amazing. What you're doing is so wonderful. I am so proud of you. You're not the only one, Jason said. And by the way, what she didn't tell you is she is also working on obtaining her black belt. He took Angel's hand, raised it slowly to his lips, and kissed it. And Shelley smiled. You two are so cute together. Oh, I just love this. I guess you've missed Jason while he's been here beating me up. Well, it's all for a good cause, Angel laughed. Next to greet Shelley was Mr. Fontaine and Mr. Johnson with their wives. They made apologies for Mr. Bearden, whose wife was ill. They made jokes about Shelley falling off a bridge, being drowned by a giant rock, and how it seemed like she'd like to keep them worrying. Ricky called everyone to attention and proposed a toast. To my father and his champion, Shelley Adams. May you have all the love and laughter that life can offer. And Shelley, may you compete with all the heart you've shown. After cups were raised, the mayor called attention and made a request that they couldn't refuse. I'm sure I speak for everyone else from here in Tyler Springs when I say we would like to see you in action. Can you do something for us now? Please, just a small demonstration? Shelley was shaking her head madly at Eric, but he was smiling at her. Do your forms, Shelley. That would be easy. She looked around at the eager faces and then back to Eric. She sighed. Okay, but only if you do them with me. He conceded, and they moved out into the yard. They stood side by side as they had so often during the past year, master and student. Their muscular bodies began to move. Shelley let her mind clear and put all she had into the perfection of each movement. Shoulders, hip rotation, everything exactly the same as Eric. The crowd was spellbound. They could feel the emotion and power of the forms. And when Eric and Shelley finished, all were silent for a moment before they broke into wild cheers and applause. A few hours later, the party beginning to break, Shelley stood on the porch, waving goodbye to people as she nibbled from the cake. You're going to get fat, Eric whispered. Rebelliously, she grabbed another piece of cake and stuffed it in her mouth. And he laughed and helped wipe some frosting off her cheek. After everyone had come to hug and kiss the champion goodbye, they were joined on the porch by Justin. Both boys are sound asleep on the sofa, he reported. Thanks, Justin, Shelley smiled. The trio watched as Jason and Angel walked off in one direction, and Ricky and Bree walked off in another. The foursome had set up a little camp in the woods for themselves, but apparently wanted to spend some couple time alone first. Justin watched Bree as she walked away with Ricky. Shelley, your daughter is truly beautiful, he said. I heard that, Ricky called back. Hey, Jason, we've got to find your brother a woman before he starts moving in on ours. Yours? Bree asked, eyebrows raised. Ricky put his arm around her with a sigh. It's just a figure of speech. Don't go getting all huffy on me. Jason laughed. We'll start right on it tomorrow. Shelley looked over at Justin. He was slimmer than Eric, with short black hair and beautiful almond-shaped eyes. His demeanor was more serious than his brother Jason and more sensitive. She thought of the time when Eric had been hurt and Justin had been angry with her for leaving the house because he'd been so worried about her. He was a good man. She touched his shoulder. Justin, I guess I really messed things up between you and Singlay. He shrugged. No, not at all. Some things are just not meant to be. Besides, Jason was right. She was mean and spiteful. And I guess she really did have a reason to be jealous. What do you mean? Well, she figured out that I compared her to you, though I tried not to. It's become a real problem. Every woman I meet, I compare to you, Shelley. There's just no one in the world like you. This is true, Eric put in, and it's a good thing for the world. Shelley hugged Justin's arm. Well, there's someone out there for you, Justin. I just know it. In the cabin, the men lowered the boys gently into their beds. Shelley tucked them in and kissed them goodnight and then joined Eric on the sofa. It was a wonderful evening, Eric. Thank you so much. I just want you to know that I really appreciate all the trouble you must have gone to. I'm always amazed at how thoughtful you are. She hugged him. He held her close for a moment. It was my pleasure. Rising, he held out his arm and pulled her up and then escorted her to her room and pointed to the bed. Now, you need some good sleep. Oh, so where are you going? She asked. I have some phone calls to make, some business to take care of. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning, she argued. He shrugged. Not in California. Good grief, Eric. What in the world could be so important that it can't wait until morning? He sighed. Do you think that all this year, the airline tickets and rental cars and hotels and uniforms and all the supplies, do you think that they just magically appear whenever we need them? She was immediately contrite. Maybe she had taken him for granted. Feeling ashamed, her eyes lowered. Go to sleep, Shelley. I won't be long, he said, gentling his voice. He left and closed the door. When Eric checked in on her later, it was after 3 in the morning. She awoke, so he spoke. Babe, I was cruel earlier, he whispered. I'm sorry. I was tired, even though that's no excuse. She opened her eyes sleepily. You mean you're not perfect? Not by a long shot. Well, then I want nothing to do with you, she teased. Eric sighed. He really was tired, and tomorrow promised to be a long day. Good night, Shelley. I love you, he said softly. She called to him. I was only teasing. Oh, I know, he whispered. Sleep. We'll talk in the morning. New scene. The morning came much too soon. Uncharacteristically, Eric was the last one to wake. Shelley had already bathed and dressed and helped Angel and Jason start breakfast. Ricky and Bree were packing up the little campsite that Ricky and Jason had set up for the foursome, and Mark and Joey talked Justin into one last trip down to the stream before breakfast. Shelley leaned over the back of the sofa to check on Eric. He was still sleeping. She pulled the covers off. Eric? She touched his face. He opened his eyes and then closed them again. Eric, are you going to sleep all day? He yawned and stretched achy muscles. What time is it? It's 8:30. He breathed in deeply. You smell good. Well, you don't, she retorted. Now, get up and bathe and dress. Breakfast is ready. When Eric finally appeared, everyone was gathered at the table. Well, Ricky started. Look who decided to join us. Eric smiled. Sorry, everyone. I guess yesterday wore me out. Ricky frowned, but remained silent. As they ate, Eric looked over the assembly of people. Justin was discussing a book he'd read with Ricky and Bree. Jason kissed Angel's hand. Shelley was teasing Joey over the last piece of toast as Mark laughed, and Ricky looked up to meet his father's gaze. You okay, Dad? I'm fine. I'm just reflecting on how much I care for all of you. Oh, you going to get all mushy on us? Ricky joked. Well, only if you consider the handing out of gifts to be mushy. He held up several envelopes. That got everyone's attention, and they quieted to hear what their leader had to say. This year has flown by. It's been an amazing year, a hard one in many aspects. Yet we're all still here, alive and well, and I wouldn't trade this past year for anything. Each of you has contributed so much to what we've tried to accomplish, and I'd like to show my gratitude. Also, if it's okay with Shelley that I speak for her, I'd like to begin by telling you all how grateful she is for your help. She's expressed how she feels to me continuously over the year and voiced how she wishes that she could do something nice for each of you. I've asked her permission to let me step in and help in that area. I'm so sorry. I'm never going to get rid of this congestion. I suppose I'll begin here at my right and work my way around the table. He pulled out the first envelope. This one is for Jason Lee. Jason, I know how hard you've worked. Tirelessly, day and night, you've arranged security, performed special favors, cooked and cleaned, flown back and forth across the country at a moment's notice, babysat, and even nursed. Your expertise in sparring with Shelley has been especially beneficial. I'm sure you're aware of my gratefulness, and I know that's enough for you. However, I wanted to compensate you for the money that you've had to spend without saying a word to me, and also for your time lost at work. As a bonus, there are tickets for a trip back home to Korea for 2, all accommodations included. He handed the packet to Jason, who knew better than to try to refuse it. Jason stood and bowed and then hugged his friend and teacher. Eric sifted through the looking for the next envelope. Angel Pritchard. Oh, Angel. He shook his head. At the beginning of this year, I thought you were going to be trouble for sure. As it turned out, Shelley was the trouble. He paused while everyone laughed. I want you to know that I'm impressed with the work you're doing in New Orleans for the women, and I'd like to offer my donation. He handed her the envelope. Also, let me know what I can do to help in the future. She thanked him graciously. Justin Lee, my dearest friend, you're always here for Shelley and I. Your proficiency in obtaining films and teaching Shelley about her opponents has been priceless. I've called upon you as an attorney many times, and you always come through. I know your law practice has suffered. I know you also have cooked, cleaned, babysat, and worried. You worry too much. Justin smiled. It's my calling in life. Eric handed the envelope to him. This is compensation for your time and attorney fees, and you also have 2 tickets to Korea. Of course, we'll have to find you a girlfriend to accompany you. Maybe not, Shelley jumped in, because the boys tell me that he had a mushy conversation with one of the nurses from the hospital. Justin eyed the boys. Man, you just can't trust anybody these days. Mark made kissing noises, and Joey giggled, and Eric moved on to the next person. Brianna Adams. You are a very special and beautiful young lady. You also have been there to babysit and clean and support your mom when you could have been out partying and having fun. Your mom truly loves and appreciates all you've done to help. And now it's time for you to have some fun. I have for you tickets to a series of Broadway shows with 2 backstage passes included, and just in case you need some glamorous new dresses to wear to all the shows, there's a gift card for you to use for anything you need. She rose and kissed him on the cheek as he handed her the envelope. Eric paused to gaze at his son. He held up a small box and read the name. Eric Keno, Jr. That would be you, Rick. You're truly all that a father could desire his son to be. Don't think I've overlooked your support. Your sparring with Shelley, lessons for the boys, helping with security, babysitting, chauffeuring, and just your positive disposition have all been a tremendous help. I'm sure there are a lot of things that have gone unheralded. Your support of me in this endeavor has been phenomenal, and I have you to thank for finding Shelley, and that's a treasure that can't be paid for. It is priceless. Shelley blushed as Ricky winked at her, and Eric smiled. Ricky, you already have everything that's mine. You know you only have to state your need, and I'll do whatever is necessary to meet it. So I have no envelope for you. He held out a small box. Only this. It's merely a token of the love that your mother and I have for you, the love that brought you into this world. Ricky opened the box to find a pendant. Shelley recognized it. It was the one inside the leather box that held the pictures of Anne. Ricky's eyes misted as he opened it. The 2 embraced. Shelley sighed at how beautiful their relationship was and secretly wished that she'd been the one to bear this man's son. Eric turned to the boys. Mark Adams and Joseph Adams. The 2 of you have been a joy to me over this year. You are fine young men and fine martial artists. I've kept your mom very busy and you haven't complained. You seem to have wisdom beyond your years, a lot like your mother. I have for you free lessons over the summer with a good friend of mine who lives close to your dad. So next time I see you, you should be close to moving up a belt ranking. Mark and Joey stood and bowed to Eric. Thank you, Master Keno, they said in unison. That was from your teacher, Eric continued. For me, though, are the 2 new bikes waiting for you at your mom's house. Their eyes lit up as they jumped up and hugged Eric's neck, and he squeezed them tight. I love you guys, Eric added. We love you too, they chimed. Eric finally turned to Shelley and held up his empty hands. She frowned. I guess there's nothing in your black bag for me? Well, the only thing I can do, I guess, is take you home myself, he added to her Wizard of Oz quote, and she forced a smile. Okay, Eric took a breath. Time to clean up, pack up, and head out. Ricky, Justin, and Jason have graciously volunteered to head to my apartment and Brian's studio to pack it up and turn in keys and ship things home. Bree, Shelley, the boys, and I will go to Shelley's house to organize and pack, and then Shelley and I will meet you guys in L.A. Bree, Mark, and Joey are heading to their dad's in the morning, but they'll be at the mart this coming weekend. So, let's do this. But before we head out, as usual, let's have a family prayer. They joined hands, and Eric prayed over the group before they got to work. With so many hands and so much excitement, the work went quickly, and by 2 p.m., Eric was pulling into Shelley's driveway. Her tiny house suddenly seemed large next to the cabin. It felt good to be home around familiar surroundings. Shelley was surprised to find the house clean and all the laundry done. Well, there was nothing else to do, Bree explained. Shelley started on a couple loads of laundry, the clothing that needed to be packed for herself and the kids. She then unpacked and repacked their suitcases, and by 6 p.m. she had herself and the children ready to go. Eric took the boys out on their bikes, and Shelley's and Eric's flight didn't leave until after 10 that evening, so she made sandwiches for dinner for her little family and then went back upstairs and waited for them to return. She thought about the wonderful gifts Eric presented to everyone that morning, everyone but her. Of course, she thought, every day with him is a gift. He constantly surprised her and did nice things for her, and the gifts this morning were to show gratitude to those who've helped so much. Still, she admitted to herself that she'd fantasized about him giving her a token of his love and asking her to marry him in front of everyone. He hadn't, though. She was sure he loved her, though she was nothing like his late wife, Anne. He probably didn't see her as wife material. She'd been with him for a year, and never once had he mentioned marriage. She figured that he'd never been able to get over Anne, and she supposed he never would. Actually, she just realized, he'd barely ever mentioned his home in California. For the first time, Shelley began to wonder about life after the mart. What would it bring? He loves her, so of course they would stay together, wouldn't they? She began to pace as she thought. If he never asked me to marry him, or at the very least live with him, then I'll have no choice but to return to Atlanta alone. Would he stay in California and she return to Atlanta, and they would write and phone and see each other every once in a while? Would they have a long-distance relationship? She hadn't been away from him even one day since last June, and she realized the thought terrified her. Her eyes welled with tears. She'd become emotionally dependent on him. So absorbed was she in her thoughts that she didn't hear Eric come in. What is it, Shelley? He asked, concerned. She turned slowly, looking up at him. Realization struck. She is terrified of living without him, and that went against everything she'd worked for since her divorce. How could she have allowed herself to become so attached? She'd wanted to stand on her own, strong and independent, and yet she felt like she couldn't live without this man. She didn't even know who she was without him. She hated herself for this weakness. She needed him, but obviously he didn't need her, because if he did, he would have said something about their living arrangements after the mart. Shelley? Oh, hi, she said feebly. I didn't hear you guys come in. Eric put his arms around her. What's wrong, hon? She laughed. Oh, nothing really. I'm just being silly. Don't lie to me, he said, frowning. Don't you think I know you better than that? Her face hardened. Okay. She stepped back. How come you've never talked about... She stopped. No. Asking why he hadn't talked about marriage would be too much like begging, and she refused to beg. What she would do is make herself not need him. She'd stand on her own. What, Shelley? Never talked about what? Never mind. She pulled away, hurrying down to the kitchen, where the boys and Bree were already munching on sandwiches. Alone, Eric sat on the bed. What now? What is going through that fascinating head of hers? He stretched out on his back as memories of the past year floated through his mind. He sighed. Whatever her problem is now, he hoped he could help her through it. Before the mart on Saturday. Closing his eyes a moment, he read his body. He wasn't just tired. He was definitely becoming ill. And that means he better take precautions to make sure his champion doesn't get sick. John chapter 14, verse 27. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. I'm so sorry. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. And that is the end of chapter 27. Oh my goodness.